You have just walked through the front door. Maybe you were gone for 8 hours at work. Maybe you were gone for 20 minutes, just to grab coffee. But the moment you step inside, your child, who, according to the babysitter, was perfect, has been playing quietly, stacking blocks, unbothered by the world, looks up at you, and their face collapses. It happens in an instant. The bottom lip juts out. The eyes, which were dry a second ago, fill with tears. And then comes the cry. Not a whimper. A full, body-shaking, heart-breaking wail. They reach for you, but the cry sounds almost angry, accusatory, like you just broke their heart by coming back. And you stand there, arms open, feeling confused, guilty, maybe even a little hurt. You were so happy to see them. You expected a smile, a giggle, a happy little run into your arms. But instead, you got a meltdown, and as you hold them, rocking back and forth, while they sob into your shoulder, you can't help but ask yourself the question that haunts almost every parent. Why do they cry harder when they see me? Why am I the one who triggers the tears? Doesn't that mean I'm doing something wrong? If you've ever felt that sting, that moment of what did I do, you are not alone. When this happens, our adult brain immediately starts looking for a logical cause. We think, maybe they're mad at me for leaving. We think, maybe the babysitter was mean and they're taking it out on me. Or, the most painful one, maybe they just don't feel safe with me. Maybe they prefer the person who stayed. We search for a problem to fix. We try to soothe them faster, shush them louder, distract them with toys, and when it doesn't work, a quiet guilt settles in. A whisper that says, your reunion should be a happy movie scene, not a tragic one. But here's what most people don't understand. That cry, the one that seems like rejection, it's actually the opposite. It's the highest form of praise your child's nervous system can offer you. Now, if you look online, or ask the well-meaning relative at a family dinner, they'll give you the simple answer. They'll say, oh, they're just manipulating you. Or, they're spoiled. They know you'll give in. That's the surface-level explanation. The idea that the baby is running a strategy. Emotional blackmail for extra cookies. But let's be honest with ourselves. Have you ever watched a 3-month-old infant, a creature who doesn't even know they have hands yet, execute a complex psychological manipulation the second you walk in the door? No, that's us projecting adult cunning onto a tiny, developing brain. The simple answer says it's about control. But the truth is, it's not about control at all. It's about safety. And to understand that, we have to stop looking at the behavior as a problem to be solved and start looking at it as a language to be translated, which leads us to the deeper question, if they're safe, why are they crying? Shouldn't safety mean calm? Let's peel this apart, layer by layer. First, the brain. Imagine your child's brain is a house. For the entire time you were gone, that house was in lockdown mode. The babysitter, the grandparent, the teacher, they are wonderful people, trusted people, but they aren't you. To a child's developing nervous system, a caregiver is not just a comfort. They are a regulator. A child's brain doesn't have the infrastructure to manage stress on its own. Their cortisol levels, the stress hormone, are naturally managed by your presence. So while you were gone, they were holding it together. They were playing nicely, but biologically, they were in a state of vigilance. Their stress hormones were building up, like water behind a dam. Their brain was essentially saying, I'm okay, but I'm just waiting. I'm not fully safe yet. Then, you walk in, and in that moment, The brain's all-clear signal fires. The amygdala, the alarm system, recognizes your face, your scent, your voice. It tells the body, the regulator is back. The safety is here. You can let go now. But letting go doesn't mean the stress just vanishes. That cortisol has to go somewhere. The floodgates open, and the only way a young nervous system knows how to release that pent-up tension, that stored-up vigilance, is through tears. It's not a tantrum. It's a pressure release valve. Second, emotional process. Now, let's talk about what they feel inside, because it's complex. For the child, your absence created a low-grade, background hum of anxiety. It wasn't fear for their life. It was a subtle, pre-verbal ache. Where did they go? Will they come back? They don't have the words for this. They only have sensations. When you return, a wave of emotion hits them. It's joy, yes, but it's also relief. And relief, when you're tiny, is overwhelming. Here's where it gets interesting. They aren't just crying because they're sad you left. They are crying because they are processing the fear that you might not have come back. They held that fear in their muscles, in their belly, in their tight little fists, for the entire separation. And now, because they trust you, they are handing that fear over to you. They are saying, with their body, I was scared. I held this for so long. Can you please help me carry it? Third, behavior. This is why the behavior looks so confusing. Externally, if they were crying because they were hurt, they'd cry the same way for anyone. But this cry is specific. It's often louder, more intense. Sometimes they push you away, while simultaneously clinging to your neck. They push you away because they are angry about the vulnerability they felt. They are processing the anger of abandonment, which is actually a healthy, normal part of attachment. And they cling because they never want to feel that separation again. To an outsider, it looks like a bad reunion, but to someone who understands the psychology of attachment, it looks like a cleanup operation. They are clearing out the emotional debris so they can get back to being securely attached to you. Fourth, attachment, or relationship. So, why does this happen specifically with you? Why don't they do this to the babysitter when she comes in the morning? Why don't they do this to the neighbor who stops by? Because the babysitter isn't their safe base. In attachment theory, the primary caregiver is the secure base. It's the home port when a ship is out at sea in a storm. It doesn't radio a random dock and start breaking down. It waits. It holds itself together. It steers toward home. And it's only when the ship pulls into the harbor, when it touches the dock, that the crew can finally say, "We made it. We almost didn't, but we made it." That's when the adrenaline drops. That's when the shaking starts. You are the harbor. You are the dock. The fact that they fall apart with you and no one else is proof of your bond. It means they know, on a primal level, that you are the one safe enough to be vulnerable with. Fifth, hidden meaning. Here's the hidden meaning most people miss. We spend our entire lives learning to hide our messy emotions from the world. We learn to say, "I'm fine," when we're crumbling. We learn to smile at parties when our hearts are breaking. We learn to save our tears for the privacy of our own car, our own pillow, or the arms of the one person we trust not to judge us. That's what your baby is doing. When they hold it together for the babysitter, they aren't being good. They are performing. They are masking. They are doing the exhausting work of regulating themselves without their primary regulator. And when they see you, they stop performing. Sixth, relatable adult comparison. Think about your own life. Have you ever had a terrible, horrible, no good day? Maybe a fight with a coworker, bad news, or just feeling overwhelmed. You kept it together all day. You were professional. You smiled at the cashier. You answered emails. And then you walked through your front door. You saw your partner, or your best friend, or your own parent, and you lost it, burst into tears, maybe even snapped at them for no reason. And they said, "Hey, what's wrong?" And you sobbed, "I don't know." But you did know. You held it together because the world isn't safe enough to fall apart in. But they are safe. So you let the dam break. You are that safe person. For your baby. The only difference is, you have a prefrontal cortex that allows you to say, "I had a hard day." Your baby doesn't. So they use the only tool they have. Tears. 7th. Emotional reframe. So let's reframe this. Entirely. We need to stop thinking of this cry as a sign of a problem. We need to stop seeing it as a failure of attachment and start seeing it as the evidence of attachment. It is not rejection. It is relief. It is not anger. It is trust. It is not a meltdown. It is a reunion. When your baby cries harder because they see you, they are not punishing you for leaving. They are celebrating your return in the only language their body knows. They are saying, "I missed you so much that my cells vibrated with the tension of it. And now that you're here, I can finally let that tension go." That cry is a love letter written in tears. 8th, contrast. Scenarios. Now, let's do something that might be a little uncomfortable, but important. Let's look at contrast. What does this behavior look like in a healthy, secure attachment? It looks like what we just described. The child may cry, melt, even push you away for a moment, but they seek you out. They end up in your arms. They eventually settle. And after the tears, they are more connected to you, calmer, able to play independently again because the tank is full. Now, what does unhealthy attachment look like? It's when you walk in the door and the child doesn't react. They glance at you and look away. They seem fine, but there's a coldness. They don't seek you out. Or they cling to you, but they never settle. They remain rigid, stiff, unable to let go of the tension. Those are the scenarios where a child has learned that crying doesn't work, or that their caregiver isn't a reliable, safe base. So if your child melts down when they see you, take a deep breath. Look at the contrast. You have the more desirable problem. You have a child who believes, deep in their soul, that you are the one who can handle their biggest feelings. So, what do we do when this happens? How do we respond in a way that honors this deep emotional process, without losing our own sanity? Here are 6 simple, calm, actionable steps. 1. Don't take it personally. I know this is the hardest one. When they scream at the sight of you, it feels like a knife. But remind yourself, it's biology, not judgment. They aren't mad at you. They are overwhelmed by their love and relief. 2. Get low. When you walk in the door, don't tower over them. Sit on the floor. Get to their eye level. This signals safety and lowers the threat response in their brain. 3. Don't distract. Our instinct is to say, "Look, a toy. Look at the TV," to stop the crying. But if you distract them, you are telling them that their feelings are too big for you to handle. Instead, just hold space. Sit with them. Offer your arms. 4. Name it. Use simple, gentle language. "You missed me. You're so happy I'm back," even if they don't understand the words. They understand the tone. You are helping them build the bridge between emotion and language. 5. Let the tears finish. Don't rush them. Don't bounce them aggressively to shush them. Let the pressure release fully. This might take 30 seconds. It might take 5 minutes. But if you let it run its course, they will reset. They will get down and play with a clarity they didn't have before. 6. Reconnect before you move on. After the cry, don't just hand them off. Look them in the eyes. Share a hug, a moment of eye contact, a snack together. Fill their cup with your presence. That's what they needed all along. So, let's go back to that moment. You've just walked through the front door. Your child looks up from their blocks. Their face crumples. The wail begins. But this time, you don't feel that stab of guilt or confusion. You take a breath. You get low. You open your arms. And as they run to you, crying, you realize they are not falling apart because you left. They are falling together because you came back. They are handing you the weight they've been carrying. And in your arms, they are learning the most fundamental lesson of human connection, that love is a place where it's safe to be a mess. That cry isn't a sign of weakness in your parenting. It is the sound of a tiny human trusting you with their whole heart. And honestly, there is no greater honor than that. If you've ever felt that pang of guilt when your child cries for you, I want you to remember this video. I'd love to know, in the comments, have you experienced this reunion cry? What went through your mind the first time it happened? Let's share our stories, because sometimes just knowing we aren't alone in this makes all the difference. If you found a little peace in this reframe, consider subscribing. We talk about the deep, invisible threads of parenting here, the ones that don't show up in the manuals. Until next time, remember, you are the harbor they sail home to.